Would you believe me if I told you that I love you? Because if the answer is no, I'm pretty sure by the end of this video it's gonna be definitely a yes. You see, I spent the past week and a total of 40 plus hours invested in what I can only describe as my biggest project yet in just one single video, with the aim of answering the question of which gunning spot in the game is the best in terms of experience per hour or skill points per hour if your main goal is to try to get from level 62 to level 63 as fast as possible. Basically, I visited every single area in the game that is even remotely relevant at level 62, which is a total of 37 grinding spots, and then I placed them in a ranking style from best to worst to see which ones I should be recommending to players that ask me where should I go grind for experience or skill points. Basically, this is the only video I'm ever going to make, probably, on this topic, and the only one you're ever going to need to watch. By the end of it, I'm pretty sure you're never gonna need to look up any other experience rates, at least for 62 to 63, and I'm pretty sure it is applicable for also 63 to 64 and beyond that, since the video is mainly a ranking for the spots, and second to that as a priority, an experience per hour number. That being said, as you can imagine, really big time investment on my side, so I'm really happy to say that today's video is actually sponsored, which makes me feel better for putting this many hours into just one video, and it's once again sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, which decided to keep on sponsoring my channel, so really happy on that front. Raid is a free dark fantasy RPG which is basically available everywhere at this point, on your mobile phone, on PC, you can play it all day long if you so choose to, and it kind of started to consume a lot of my free time over the past couple of weeks. The main idea behind the game is pretty simple. You summon a bunch of different champions with your shards in game until you get something that either looks really amazing and you want to level it up because it looks amazing, or you get a champion that looks good enough and it has a very particular set of skills, in which case you should level up that champion. Once you have enough of them leveled up, you can take part in the arena mode and fight versus other players, and once you level up even more of them to form 3 separate teams, then you can take part in the tag team arena, which is a new mode added to the game, in which you fight a series of 3 consecutive fights of 4 versus 4. This is something that for me it's a long-term goal to aim towards because I don't yet have enough champions leveled up, but all I'm going to say is that currently my best unit is Dark Elaine, which is really broken in grinding dungeons because of her immunity to freezes and counters every single time an ally is frozen, so she's really carrying my team and giving me a lot of good gear. Soon enough I will have a tag team set up. That being said, you can support my channel by downloading Raid Shadow Legends with the link available in the video description, and if you're a new player you will also get an exclusive welcome pack that contains a bunch of different items like silver, gems and a lot more, and on top of that a free champion, the Shaman, to hopefully help you get started on your journey. You can find your rewards in your inbox in-game for the next 30 days only, so make sure to use that link while it's still available. Once again, thanks to Raid for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to our ranking and see which spot has the best experience and which ones don't. So let's begin pretty simple with the basics. From the beginning, I want to be able to explain to you everything so that I don't cause any confusion later in the video when you take a look at the charts and you are gonna be like, but I don't understand how they scale and all of that. So first of all, my gear, I have 277 AP on a Guardian with a Tri Black Star for the main weapon and a Tet Kutum for the offhand. I am playing Awakening, so 277 AP is the relevant one. In terms of my pets, I have 2 tier 4 pets and 3 tier 3 pets, all of them on agile mode, and those pets are responsible for every single trash item you're going to see later on in the video. I didn't loot anything manually from the ground myself, so it's all just the pets, and also I didn't stop at all to pick up items manually myself, so in most of the areas I basically left behind me a huge trail of items that you know, I could have picked up, but my main focus was experience and not money per hour. Besides that, if you want to look at my skill add-ons, this is literally what I used and had consistently for all of the areas. My main goal was to try to have as much monster damage as possible and just have this buff active for all of the areas, and obviously maybe some HP recovery and some other useful buffs besides that. So these are my skill add-ons. For my crystals, once again, these are my crystals. I tried to go for as much AP as possible to have as much damage as possible. For the buff, the Crown Meal, I used the simple Crown Meal for every single area, the PvE Crown Meal, and I should mention I tested every single area after the recent patch where the simple Crown Meal got fixed and the monster damage actually works on the simple Crown Meal. So currently the simple Crown Meal is uncontested, it's the best PvE meal you can use, and I actually did notice an increase in my clearing speed in areas like Sycraia and Star's End after the meal was reworked or, you know, fixed. Other than that, in terms of how the test went and what you should know for the consistency side, I didn't use any loot scrolls at all for any of the areas I will talk about today. All of the trash per hour values you're going to see are just raw trash with no other buffs on top of that. The trash per hour is the main metric I used to show you my clearing speed and how fast I was clearing an area, because obviously half of the areas in the game don't have Marnie zones, so I cannot show you monsters per hour. No Agri's fever buff as well, goes without saying. I did have a Kamasiv blessing, so that's the only buff I had, but that one doesn't apply to trash loot, so it's not really relevant. In terms of my grinding style, I am a guardian. You should keep in mind that as a guardian, I am not very fast. I mean, I am decently fast, but in areas like Fogans, Bandits, Nagas, I am pretty sure certain classes will be able to move faster than me, and they will clear those areas faster than my guardian. This entire project was done from the perspective of a guardian, and having really big AoEs as a guardian, it did help me in other areas like, for example, Aakman or Shultz Guard, areas where having big AoEs actually helps, and one-shotting monsters for me was a little bit easier because of the high damage of the guardian skills. In terms of my grinding method, I tried to grind as fast as humanly possible. I was literally focused for the entire duration of the test, so all of the values you're going to see are probably above what you should expect yourself from a casual grinding hour. When you go and grind, most of the values you're going to see from me are probably higher than what you should expect yourself, but they were consistent in terms of my grinding method for all of the areas, so you should basically scale all of them down if you're gonna go that route. I grinded all of the rotations, all of the spots uncontested, no one bothered my spot, and if someone decided to show up, there was only one instance where this happened, and it was at the Ronaros Forest. I did end the test earlier, so instead of being the standard 30 minutes per area that I decided to allocate, it was something like 21 minutes, 25 minutes for a couple of areas. So ideally, basically all of the areas uncontested, full grinding speed, just going all out. Experience and skill points buffs were always consistent. I will show a chart in just a second. The test was finished on 16th July 2020, in case any of these spots gets reworked in the future or something, and in terms of the experience rates at which all of the charts later on are going to function, it's these numbers over here, with 268% for skill experience rate and 184% for skill points. If I show you my buffs in terms of the chart I used while grinding, it's this one over here, and you can see pretty easily I have base buffs and bonus buffs. The base buffs are the ones that were literally consistent for every single area, like my crystals, my pets, my costume, my titles, the simple crown meal, the Old Moon book, which I replaced with a combat book after the Old Moon book expired, a value pack, and the normal experience rate, coming down to these two numbers which I just mentioned. On top of these, I had fluctuating buffs which were not consistent for all areas, but after testing every single area in particular, say I had a total of 400% experience, I just converted the result into these two numbers over here. So that's why I'm saying you should only really remember these two numbers for experience and skill points. For the bell buff, I tried to have the bell buff for every single area active, but when I started, I initially didn't want to test with a bell until I realized how annoying it is to have to see the bell just randomly pop every now and then, and after the first couple of areas I just simply started to ask my guildies which servers have bells with 30 plus minutes already on, so I can use those servers for my tests. So if I did test an area with a bell, it was active from start to end. If I tested an area with the weekend buff, it was again active from start to end. The same with a couple of areas where I had the guild grinding buffs, it was active from start to end. And once again, the same for the nighttime buff. If I did grind during the nighttime, I made sure it was from start to end nighttime. Other than that, one more thing that I want to point out is that when you get skill points, as you level up in skill points and you get more and more of them, you start to get less and less experience in terms of the skill point experience. The difference is really small, but if you test an area with, let's say, 1.8 thousand skill points and then you test it again with 2.2 thousand skill points, you will see that you will get just slightly less skill points, even though your clearing speed is gonna be the same. So when I started this test, I had 2194 skill points, and when I ended the project I had 2244, so basically 50 skill points difference from start to end. I would say this is the most optimal scenario, and literally I spent an entire week only focused on this project and nothing else grinding wise. I believe this is everything that is relevant to you in terms of how the test worked and what you should know. I hope by now at some point I played the start and end for every single area in terms of the screenshots, in case someone wants to fact check me for the experience rates and all of that. I will put them, maybe now, maybe they already played, I don't know. After those, I want to mention quickly the rotations that I used, because there is no way I can show you like 40 different rotations in one video without having it be 1 hour long. So what I'm going to do, I will put a screenshot for every single area that will show you exactly what rotation I used in those areas from the screenshots. People who are familiar with these grinding spots should be able to identify the rotation just from one screenshot, and if you cannot do that, then I would suggest you to just go on YouTube and search for videos for every area in particular so you can figure out exactly what rotation to use. I tried to pick the rotations that I knew are good, or let's just say the best rotation for an area, or what I personally use when I normally go and grind those spots. So really long explanation, I know it probably was really boring and really annoying, but I have to mention these, otherwise people will just ask the same questions in the comments and will get confused when I show you the charts. The first one I want to point out is a kind of irrelevant chart, and it's this one over here. Just don't pay attention to anything except the time spent per each grinding spot. Some areas I did test twice, just because maybe something went wrong or some other reason, but in general, as I said, I tried to spend exactly half an hour per spot. Some of them were slightly below that, maybe the bell was about to expire, maybe nighttime was about to start, some reason. Other areas were longer, 40 minutes, 1 hour, if those areas were, party grinding spots, just in case you want to know exactly how much time I spent per area. So, all of that out of the way, now we can get into the really interesting part, the experience comparison and the skill points comparison. There's these two different charts, the information in the middle. So But let's take a look first at the experience one. Basically these charts are identical with the only summarized information that you care about, with the exception that this one is ordered from best to worst in terms of experience from monsters, and this one is ordered from best to worst, actually this one, in terms of skill points per hour. So if you only care about experience and you want to level up as fast as possible, as no surprise to anyone, the best spot in the game is Mirumok 5-man party, followed by Mirumok Solo, and then actually, as a surprise to me at least, Shultz Guard. I didn't expect Shultz Guard to be this high up in the list. If you exclude Mirumok Solo, which is actually not very profitable, and Mirumok 5-man party, also not very profitable, actually Shultz Guard will be the best experience in the game, which is kind of funny to me. I will say Mirumok 5-man party seemed to me like an average team in terms of how they were clearing. I would say this experience can be a little bit higher. The trash per hour is a bit low because there's a lot of travel time between the packs. But again, experience can be slightly higher. For the Mirumok Solo, I think this is more or less the best case scenario, because on my Guardian I was clearing 3 sets of trees and they were basically barely respawning in time, so I was clearing them almost at their respawn capacity. 2.3 thousand trash per hour with no loot scroll at all. This is my speed for Mirumok Solo, and as I said, I don't want to repeat myself anyway. Shultz Guard, an area which is really good if you have big AoEs and you can actually one-shot packs like I did. If you can do that, you will achieve these experience numbers. Sycraia Upper level, once again a really good area for experience values, the low AP spot. And then we have Star's End and Sycraia lower level, the high-end areas. I would say these two are basically identical, copy-paste in terms of experience values. Star's End is a bit skewed just because as a Guardian I actually do grind Star's End a bit faster than I grind at Sycraia. I did notice an increase in my trash per hour after the simple cron meal was fixed, but still I would say overall, because of the down attacks, I clear Star's End faster, and maybe that's why the experience is just a bit higher. For Mirumok 3-man party, this one over here, I will say I was clearing 1 extra tree myself, so the experience numbers are gonna be a bit higher than a normal 3-man party. If you know the main rotation at Mirumoks, basically you clear a single tree, then you clear 2 trees that are close together to clear them at the same time, and then another tree on top of that. So basically the normal rotation has only 4 trees. But in my case, because I killed those trees too fast, I included another tree on top of that, which I was soloing myself, so the rotation had 5 trees in it, and I was within sharing range for experience to basically share the experience with the other teammates. That's why I'm saying the Mirumok 3-man party is probably a bit higher than the average teams out there, maybe. Kratuga, pretty good and decent, I would say. I was clearing Kratuga actually pretty fast, I remember, over 6000 trash per hour with a normal loot scroll for sure. Aakman and Hystria are basically identical in terms of experience rates, and they are really not bad choices, but if you have the AP, Star's End and Sycraia are actually better. Then we have Ronaros and Forest, about the same, and the last one I'm going to mention is this Gyfin 2.5x, which is the only area I couldn't test properly. This is supposed to be the value for the party Gyfin grinding. If you look at this one, this is basically my solo test for Gyfins. I spent half an hour there grinding solo, and I got 1.1 thousand trash per hour on my own, after which I just went on YouTube and looked up what are the expected values for the Gyfin party grinding, and I figured let's just multiply my solo clearing speed by 2.5x and get these experience values. I multiplied it by 2.5x to get this trash per hour, then I divided the experience in half, because in a party you're supposed to get half of the experience. I hope this is close enough to the real value. I don't see Gyfins as being a competitor to Mirumok 5-man party, I'm pretty sure of that, but it seems to be decent, but nobody really grinds Gyfins these days. Other than that, compare these spots if you want, examine them. I will say as you go up in level 63, 64, maybe 65, all of the low end spots are going to start to give you less and less experience because they are going to be even farther below you, and maybe because of that at level 62 all of these areas like Fogan, Kahaz, Hystria Ruins, all of the one-shottable areas had pretty bad experience rates in comparison to areas where you actually are within the level range of the monsters like Star's End, for example. So at level 63 and at 64 I would expect these values to be even lower, while these values at the high-end spots staying pretty consistent. Obviously probably the entire chart will be half of these values if you are level 63. That's why I said this video might apply to 63 to 64 as well, since it's just simply a ranking of best to worst for spots and not necessarily just the numbers themselves. Pretty long explanation, I know. Let's just quickly talk about the skill experience as well. In terms of skill experience, I'm really happy this is the outcome because I keep hearing a lot of people saying, oh no, Soldier's Grave is the best skill experience in the game, you should go there, it's better than Polyforest. It's not. I did grind all of these areas as fast as possible, including Soldier's Grave, including Polyforest, and Polyforest is simply just way too broken. It's the best skill experience in the game by far, no matter how many skill points you have. This is literally the best area you can go to if you want skill points. The second best one is Soldier's Grave, I will give it that, but it's nowhere near Polyforest, and if you're looking for experience numbers as well on top of the skill points, Soldier's Grave just simply doesn't compete. I did hear rumors that Soldier's Grave is supposed to get reworked in the future, so if you watch this video 6 months from now, it might already be reworked. If a spot gets reworked, I will try to test it and put it on top of these in the charts, just to keep this series being complete. And when the new expansion, Odalita, or however you pronounce that one, comes out, I will try to test those areas as well. After that, I would say, as a surprise to me, Cactums actually has really good skill point experience rate. It's basically the second best one in my opinion after Polyforest, and I'm really happy about that because I keep on recommending Cactums and Polyforest to new players, and looking at these values, I'm happy that I keep recommending these areas. The only real surprises here are Piraku Jail and Sulfur Mines, which both of them have really good skill experience rates. I didn't expect Sulfur Mines to be this good in skill experience, but hey, if you can one-shot Sulfur Mine monsters like I do and feel like grinding there, maybe on your season character, I don't know, you will get really good skill experience values. So once again, examine the rest of this chart if you want to see exactly where your favorite spot is sitting. I did exclude the irrelevant areas like most of Media, most of the Calfian and Serendia region. I only included the grinding spots, as I said, that are relevant for a level 62 character, spots that people actually do go to. The worst spot in both skill points and experience is Sherekhan Necropolis nighttime with those elites, just because they are literally so worthless, nobody grinds them, they have bad money per hour values, bad experience, bad skill points, everything about them is just bad. So that's gonna be it. This is all I wanted to share with you today. This was the entire topic for the video, just to show you where you should go, what you should grind. Again, knowing that I will repeat myself, I will say I was grinding as fast as I could, I was focused for all of the areas, so my results in terms of clearing speed are most likely faster than what you yourself will be able to get in your normal day-to-day grinding casual style. If you do push yourself and literally try your best to be as optimal as possible, you should be able to get these numbers, especially if you are a Guardian or a similar class to a Guardian. So I will leave it at that, and I will say if you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, a like would be massively appreciated. It would make my day feel a lot better, and to make this even better, I thought about something really interesting, which is if this video gets over 1000 likes, which I know it's a really big goal to aim for, but I don't want this to be easy. That's what I'm gonna say. If it gets over 1000 likes, I will consider doing this project again, spending again like 40 hours to test every area for maybe level 61 to 62 or 63 to 64, whichever one is in higher demand. So if you want me to spend this much time on this project, you better do your part and show your dedication as well. So again, thanks for watching. I will leave you on that note. Have a good rest of your day, keep on grinding, stay happy, and goodbye. I forgot to point out one thing. All of these Marnie experience numbers right here are pretty much a joke, and you really shouldn't be looking at them at all, because when I turned in all of the Marnie stones after every area, I got like 0.002% for almost every spot after half an hour, and that's because there are not enough digits in game to show me an accurate experience number. So these are not really very accurate. I will just simply say at level 62, Marnie stones are not worth your money, they are not worth the time, and they are definitely not worth the inventory space. So that's that.